If I had to start over at $0 in America, no savings, no safety net, no connections, I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't chase shortcuts. And I definitely wouldn't do what most people do. Because, let me be honest, most people starting from zero don't stay at zero because of bad luck. They stay stuck because of bad decisions. I've seen people earn $60,000, $80,000, even $100,000 a year and still feel broke. And I've also seen people start with nothing and quietly build a stable, stress-free financial life within a few years. So, the real question is not, how do I make money fast? The real question is, what would I do differently if I had to rebuild everything from scratch? In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly that. Step by step. No hype. No unrealistic promises. Just a practical plan that actually works in real life. And if you're over 35, this matters even more because time is no longer on your side. Every mistake costs more. Every delay hurts more. Let's start with the first thing I would do. If I had $0, the first thing I'd focus on is not investing, not side hustles, not even saving. I would focus on stabilizing my cash flow. Most people don't realize this, but financial stress doesn't come from lack of money alone. It comes from unpredictable money. Let me give you a real-life scenario. Imagine someone named Mike. He earns decent money, around $4,000 a month. But his income fluctuates. Some months are good, some are bad. He uses credit cards to smooth things out. Before he knows it, he's carrying $8,000 in debt. Now here's the mistake Mike makes. He thinks his problem is income. So he looks for ways to make more money. But the real problem? Instability. If I were in Mike's position, starting from zero, I would do one simple thing first. I would secure a predictable income stream, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not high-paying. A steady $3,000 a month is far more powerful than a random $5,000 followed by $1,000, because stability gives you control, and control is where financial recovery begins. So step one, I would take whatever job or work I can get that pays consistently. I'm not chasing passion at this stage. I'm building a base. Once that base is in place, I move to the next step. Now the second thing I would do is cut my lifestyle to the bone. And I know people don't like hearing this, but let me be honest. You cannot rebuild your financial life while maintaining a lifestyle you can't afford. Let's take another example. Sarah is 42. She went through a tough period and had to restart financially, but she's still paying for a car that costs $600 a month, still living in an apartment that stretches her budget, still dining out because she deserves it. Here's the mistake. She's trying to protect her lifestyle instead of fixing her finances. If I had to start over at zero, I would do the opposite. I would temporarily downgrade everything. Smaller apartment, cheaper car, less spending, no ego. Because every dollar I don't spend becomes a tool. And most people underestimate this. Cutting $800 a month in expenses is the same as earning an extra $800, but it's faster. And it's guaranteed. This is not forever. This is strategy. You're not lowering your standards. You're rebuilding your foundation. Now, once my expenses are under control and my income is stable, the third thing I would do is build a small but solid emergency buffer. Not $10,000. Not even $5,000 at first. Just $1,000 to $2,000. That's it. Most people skip this step. And that's a big mistake, because life will hit you. Car repairs, medical bills, unexpected expenses. And without a buffer, you go right back into debt. Let me give you a simple example. John finally starts making progress. He pays off some debt. Feels good. Then his car breaks down. It cost $1,200. He doesn't have the cash, so he uses a credit card. And just like that, he's back where he started. If I were rebuilding from zero, I would prevent this cycle. I would build a small emergency fund as fast as possible. Sell unused items. Cut extra expenses. Take temporary extra work if needed. Because this small cushion is what protects your progress. Now here's something most people don't want to hear. Starting over at zero is not about big moves. It's about small, disciplined decisions repeated daily. And this is where people fail. They get impatient. They want results in 3 months. They compare themselves to others. They chase trends. But rebuilding wealth, especially after 35 or 40, is about consistency. It's about doing the boring things again and again without quitting. Before we move to the next part, let me say this clearly. If you are starting over, you are not behind, but you are on a clock. And the sooner you take control of your income, your expenses, and your safety net, the faster you can move to real wealth building. In the next part, I'm going to show you exactly how I would start increasing my income strategically, without burning out and without falling into the trap most people fall into when they try to earn more. Now, once I have stability, a steady income coming in, my expenses under control, and a small emergency buffer, this is where most people make a critical mistake. They get comfortable. They think, okay, I'm not drowning anymore. I'm fine. But let me be honest. Fine is dangerous because fine keeps you stuck. If I had to start over at zero, this is the stage where I would aggressively focus on increasing my income, but in a very specific way. Not by working more hours blindly, not by chasing random side hustles on the internet. I would focus on building income that grows over time. Most people don't realize this, but there are 2 types of income: linear income, where you trade time for money, and scalable income, where your effort today pays you again later. At the beginning, yes, you need linear income to survive. That's your job, your steady paycheck. But if you stay there forever, you will always feel limited. Let me give you a real-life example. David is 45. He works 9 to 5. He's responsible, pays his bills, saves a little. But his income hasn't changed much in the last 10 years. Now here's the mistake David makes. He relies on his job alone to improve his financial life. But his job is designed to give stability, not growth. If I were in David's position, starting from zero, I would ask one simple question. What skill can I build that increases my earning power? Because skills are assets. And unlike money, nobody can take them away from you. Now, this doesn't mean going back to college for 4 years. It means choosing something practical, something the market already pays for. For example, communication skills, sales, basic digital skills, project coordination, problem solving in a specific industry. Let's say someone learns how to manage small business social media accounts. Within months, they can start earning extra income. Not huge at first, but it grows. Or someone improves their negotiation skills at work. That alone could increase their salary by thousands per year. The point is simple. If I had $0, I wouldn't chase money first. I would chase value. Because the more value you can offer, the more money naturally follows. Now here's where people go wrong. They try to do too many things at once. They start a side hustle, then another, then another. Nothing sticks. If I were rebuilding from scratch, I would focus on one income growth path at a time. Just one. Give it 6 to 12 months. Stay consistent. Track results. Because focus builds momentum. And momentum changes everything. Now, let's talk about another common mistake at this stage. Lifestyle creep. This is subtle and dangerous. As soon as people start earning a little more, they start spending a little more. A better phone, a nicer car, more eating out, more rewards. Let me give you an example. Lisa finally increases her income by $1,000 a month. She feels proud, and she should. But within 6 months, that extra $1,000 disappears into new expenses. Now she's back to feeling stuck. Different numbers, same problem. If I had to start over, I would do the opposite. Any increase in income, I would divide it intentionally. A portion goes to improving my life. Yes, that matters. But a larger portion goes toward building assets. And this is where most people hesitate. Because assets don't always feel exciting in the beginning. Saving money, investing slowly, paying off debt. It feels slow. It feels boring. But let me be clear. This is where real wealth starts. Now at this point, I would introduce the fourth step in my plan. Controlled investing. Not risky trading. Not chasing hot stocks. Not trying to get rich quickly. Just consistent, disciplined investing. Let me explain it simply. Once I have my emergency fund and stable income, I start investing a small percentage regularly, even if it's just 10%. Because time matters more than timing. Most people wait. They say, I'll invest when I have more money. But that delay costs them years. Let's take a simple scenario. Two people start investing. One starts at 35 with small amounts. The other waits until 45, but invests larger amounts. In many cases, the person who started earlier still ends up ahead. Why? Because of consistency and compounding. Most people don't realize this, but wealth is not built in big moments. It's built quietly, month by month. Now here's another mistake I would avoid if I were starting over. Comparing my journey to others. This is a trap. You see someone online making fast money, someone buying a new house, someone retiring early, and you feel behind. But you don't see their full picture, their risks, their debt, their luck. If I had $0, I would stay focused on one thing: progress. Am I better this month than last month? That's it. Because consistency beats comparison every time. Now, let me give you a short reality check before we move forward. Increasing your income is necessary, but it's not enough. You can earn more and still stay broke. You can grow your salary and still have no wealth. Because without control, without discipline, more money just creates bigger problems. So at this stage of rebuilding, I would follow a simple rule. Earn more, but keep your lifestyle controlled. Build skills, but stay focused. Invest, but stay consistent. In the next part, I'm going to walk you through something most people ignore completely: how to protect your money and avoid the financial traps that quietly destroy progress, even when everything seems to be going well. Now here's the part most people completely ignore, and it's the reason so many people make progress and then suddenly fall right back to zero. Protecting your money. Let me be honest. Making money is only half the battle. Keeping it is where most people fail. Because life doesn't hit you when you're ready. It hits you when things are finally going well. If I had to start over at zero, and I've already built some stability, increased my income, and started investing, this is exactly where I would slow down and focus on protection. Not fear, not overthinking, just smart protection. Let me give you a real-life situation. Mark is 48. He did everything right. Paid off debt, built savings, started investing. Things were finally looking good. Then he had a medical emergency, a few weeks off work, unexpected bills. Within months, his savings dropped. His investments were pulled out early, and stress came right back. Now here's the mistake. Mark assumed progress meant safety, but progress without protection is fragile. If I were in his position, I would do one simple thing differently. I would build layers of protection. The first layer is insurance. Now I know, people don't like this topic. It feels like an extra expense. But let me be clear. Insurance is not an expense. It's a shield. Health insurance, basic life insurance if you have dependents, even disability coverage if your income depends on your ability to work. Because one event, just one, can undo years of effort. And most people only realize this after it's too late. Now, here's another mistake people make. They rely only on one source of income. Let me be honest. In today's world, that's risky. Jobs change, companies restructure, health changes, industries shift. If I had to rebuild from zero, once I stabilize my main income, I would quietly build a secondary stream. Not something flashy, not something stressful, just something reliable. Let's say someone starts doing part-time consulting based on their experience, or freelancing a few hours a week, or even a small service in their local area. It may only bring in a few $100s at first, but that's not the point. The point is, you are no longer dependent on one door, and that changes your entire financial psychology. Now let's talk about a subtle but powerful trap: financial leaks. These are small, unnoticed expenses that slowly drain your progress. Subscriptions you forgot about, small daily spending, fees, impulse purchases. Individually, they don't look like much, but over a year, they can cost thousands. Let me give you a simple example. Tom spends $15 here, $20 there, doesn't track it. At the end of the month, he wonders why nothing is left. Now, here's the mistake. He focuses on big expenses, but ignores the small ones. If I had to start over, I would track every dollar for at least a few months. Not forever, just long enough to understand my patterns. Because awareness creates control, and control creates freedom. Now, here's something most people don't want to admit. Sometimes, the biggest financial risk is not the economy, not your job, but your own behavior. Emotional spending, stress decisions, trying to feel better through money. Let me be honest. Everyone does this at some point. You've had a bad day, so you spend. You feel behind, so you upgrade something. You feel stressed, so you ignore your finances completely. If I were rebuilding from zero, I would set simple rules for myself. No big financial decisions when I'm emotional. No impulse purchases above a certain amount. Always wait 24 hours before spending on anything non-essential. These small rules protect you from your worst moments. Now let's talk about another critical point: taxes. Most people ignore this until it becomes a problem, especially when they start earning extra income. Let's say you start a side hustle. Money starts coming in, feels great, but you don't set aside money for taxes. End of the year, you owe more than expected, and suddenly, your progress takes a hit. If I had to start over, I would treat taxes as non-negotiable. A percentage of every extra dollar, set aside immediately. No exceptions, because surprises in finance are rarely good. Now here's a reality check that most people avoid. You don't need a dramatic mistake to lose progress. You just need a few small ones. Repeated over time. A little overspending, a little lack of planning, a little overconfidence, and slowly, things start slipping. That's why protection is not about one big move. It's about consistent awareness. Before we move to the final part, let me say this clearly. Building money is important. Growing money is important. But protecting money is what keeps everything intact. In the next part, I'm going to bring everything together. I'll show you exactly how I would turn this stability, this discipline, into long-term wealth. Not just surviving, not just getting by, but actually building a life where money stops being a constant source of stress. Now, this is where everything comes together. You've stabilized your income. You've controlled your expenses. You've built a small safety net. You've started increasing your income. And you've protected yourself from major setbacks. At this point, most people think they've made it. But let me be honest. This is not the finish line. This is the starting line of real wealth. Because surviving financially and building wealth are two completely different games. If I had to start over at zero and I reached this stage, the next thing I would focus on is simple: turning discipline into long-term wealth. Not fast money, not risky moves, but a system that works quietly in the background, year after year. Let me explain. Most people don't realize this. But wealth is not about how much you earn. It's about how much you keep. and how well you grow it. Let's take a simple example. Two people earn the same income. One spends most of it, upgrades their lifestyle every few years, and saves very little. The other lives slightly below their means, invests consistently, and avoids unnecessary debt. Fast forward 10, 15 years. The difference between them is not small. It's massive. And it didn't happen overnight. It happened because of habits. So if I were rebuilding from zero, here's exactly how I would approach this final stage. First, I would automate everything. Savings, investments, bills, because willpower is unreliable. Some months you feel motivated. Some months you don't. Automation removes emotion from the process. Money gets saved before you even see it. Investments happen whether you're thinking about them or not. And over time, this creates consistency without effort. Now here's a mistake people make at this stage. They start feeling overconfident. They think, now I can take bigger risks. So they chase trends. They try to time the market. They follow what everyone else is doing. Let me be clear. This is where people lose years of progress. If I had to start over, I would stick to simple strategies, consistent investing, long-term thinking, patience, because the goal is not to impress anyone. The goal is to build something that lasts. Now, let's talk about something deeper. Your relationship with money. Most people never think about this. They focus on numbers, but ignore behavior. If you still think of money as something to spend quickly, you'll always struggle. If you see money as a tool, something that creates options, freedom, and security, your decisions change. Let me be honest. At some point, building wealth becomes less about income and more about identity. You start asking different questions. Not, can I afford this? But, is this a smart use of my money? That shift changes everything. Now here's another important piece. Planning for the future. And I don't mean something complicated. Just clear direction. Where do you want to be in 5 years? What kind of lifestyle do you actually want? What does financial security look like for you? Because without direction, even good habits can drift. If I were starting over, I would review my finances every month. Not obsessively, just consistently. Track progress. Adjust where needed. Stay aware. Because what gets measured improves. Now, let's have a reality check. There is no perfect plan. There will be setbacks, unexpected expenses, mistakes. That's normal. The difference is, now you're prepared. Now you have structure, awareness, control, and that's what keeps you moving forward, even when things don't go perfectly. So if I had to summarize everything, starting from zero is not about one big breakthrough. It's about stages. Stability first, then control, then growth, then protection, and finally, long-term wealth. Most people try to skip steps, and that's why they stay stuck. If you follow the sequence, patiently, consistently, you don't just recover, you rebuild stronger. Now, before I end this, let me say something directly to you. If you're watching this and you feel like you're starting over, maybe in your 30s, 40s, or even 50s, you're not alone. And more importantly, it's not too late. But you do have to be honest with yourself. No shortcuts, no excuses, no waiting for the perfect time. Start where you are. Take control of what you can and move forward one step at a time. Now I want to hear from you. What stage are you in right now? Are you trying to stabilize, grow, or rebuild? Comment below and share your situation. And if this video helped you see money differently, even a little, make sure you subscribe. Because on this channel, we don't chase hype. We build real financial stability, step by step.